The story of one of the greatest signed 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle cards of all time, right here. Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. So this is a fantastic story. First of all, we're going to tell the story from 1968 and then to 2017 and then 2023. I want to shout out, first of all, Forbes, because Forbes wrote the first part of this story, which we'll talk a little bit about, but then also the most recent part, which was written by Will Stern at Collect. Just a great, great outlet. I can't recommend Will's writing and Collect enough. So first, let's start back in the 1950s. Steve Olsen is just a little kid in 1951, 1952 in Rochelle, Illinois, and he's buying cards at Hayes Drugstore. You buy a pack for a penny back then, and he pulled out of these packs 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle, the rookie card, and the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle. Bought a lot of packs, said that he would save up money from his grandfather and buy them. And eventually, later on, he became a phys ed teacher, assistant basketball coach, a driver's ed teacher. He's very similar to my dad, who was a elementary school teacher, basketball coach, painted houses, whatever he could do to make money. And Steve Olsen was a huge Mickey Mantle fan. Hated the Yankees, huge Mickey Mantle fan. Had a big, huge collection. And in 1968, the Yankees were playing a spring training game in Sarasota against the White Sox. They were visiting Sarasota, and Steve, the head basketball coach, so Steve, remember, was the assistant basketball coach, was good friends with Yankees pitcher Steve Hamilton. And so the head coach there, friends with Steve obviously, set up a meeting between Steve Olsen and Mickey Mantle at the spring training game. Something that in all likelihood wouldn't happen very easily today, but in 1968 seems to have been easier to do. So it sets up this meeting. Steve Olsen brings his cards in an envelope. 1951 Bowman Mantle, 1952 Topps Mantle, brings them in an envelope. Remember, he paid a penny each for these. And the shop, the Hayes Drugstore that he bought these from, still stands, or at least it did in 2017 when this Forbes article was written, in Rochelle, Illinois. Mantle, when Hamilton waved Steve Olsen down to meet the Mick, Mantle was actually happy to meet him, and he said that it was because of the influence his high school coach had on him, and he appreciated the work that Steve did. So really nice. And he turned the 52 Topps sideways and wrote best wishes and took the time to sign it really nicely in a spot where you don't really see this card signed. Now, there are only 20 of these autographed that have been graded by PSA, so it's already extremely rare. But for him to have written best wishes, you know he was taking his time, and it's a 1968 era autograph. Very, very rare and very cool. People back then didn't get cards signed, at least not the rookie cards. I know 52 isn't a rookie card. 51 he had signed as well. They just didn't do that back then. And so incredible foresight, I guess, by Steve Olsen. Really, really cool. Later on, Steve Olsen's son stole a lot of his collection. He was friends with the son of a mob boss or mobster. I'm not really sure of the whole story. Stole his collection, sold it. Really terrible. Can't imagine something like that happening. And then, if that's not bad enough, a fire then destroyed a lot of the rest of his childhood collection. And then the cards that he saved from the fire were later destroyed by a flood. This is such a crazy story, but it ends on a happy note because two of the cards, the 51 Bowman and the 52 Topps Mantle, had been saved in a safe spot in Olsen's house, away from the rest of his collection. So in 2017, Olsen decides to sell. He decides it's time. He's 75 at this point. He sold the Topps card for $48,000 and the Bowman for $45,600. So about $90,000 combined between the two of them, which for a probably at the time retired, maybe phys ed teacher, that's really impressive. For anybody, it's impressive. I would be shocked and amazed to sell a card or two cards for $90,000, considering my entire collection isn't worth that much. But in that auction, Matty C, who is best known as Matty C of the Instagram account Matty C Collection. Matty C Collection is legendary. I don't open Instagram that much anymore, but when I do, I'm always looking for a Matty C Instagram post. He has an amazing eye for centering, and he posts great things like, why would you buy this 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle in a PSA 8 when this PSA 2 looks better? He talks a lot about eye appeal and value as it relates to eye appeal, kind of similar to what we hear in the lower value vintage community talk a lot about. Why would I get a PSA 6 1948-49 Leaf Ted Williams when my 1.5 is beautiful and is only a 1.5 because of back paper loss? I don't care about the paper loss. And that's kind of at the heart of the Matty C Collection Instagram feed. He was the underbidder on that card in 2017, and was devastated. He thought he lost it forever. And he talks about this in this Collect article that Will Stern wrote. He was devastated. It's one of those cards that you have to have. And he didn't get it. Didn't bid enough, lost it, sold for $48,000. For the next 6 years, he thought he'd never see it again. But in 2023, so about 18 months ago now, when the National Collectors Convention was going on in, where was 2023? Chicago. He was in Sweden, and he got a call from a rep from Heritage saying that they had it again, and they wanted to know if he wanted to buy it. They knew he was interested, and he worked out a deal with the seller, who he believes didn't know the provenance of the card. He knew that this card was from March 29th, 1968, one of the very few where you know the actual date when the card was actually signed, and it has the period signature and the best wishes, and it's signed in a great spot. And so they offered it to him for $225. He offered back, they negotiated and worked out $200,000 is what he bought it for. And now he has it in his collection, and he's thrilled. He would love to reunite it with the 1951 Bowman. The owner is not selling. May never sell, but he is always looking. So really cool stuff. Just recently, PSA 3 on the card, 10 on the auto, Mantle 52 Topps, sold for $793,000. So what would this card be worth today? Certainly more than $200,000 that he paid for it, considering now it's a bigger story, and once a bigger story comes out and you know the story behind it, he's got the provenance, it becomes valuable, much more valuable. Is it worth $300,000, $400,000, $500,000? Let me know what you think in comments. I will link the Collect story and the Forbes story in the description of this video, but also in my newsletter on Monday that will go in the links section. Make sure you subscribe to my newsletter. Clearing the Base is coming up tomorrow. I appreciate you guys watching. Have a great weekend.